Now, have we broken the barrier? Can we start?
Yeah, I think we can.
Because I'm on a
fire.
Acetaminophen with codeine.
Okay.
Actually, I only took a half because I knew I needed to be a little bit cognizant here.
Would you like me to push the button?
Yes.
Greetings. This is the Long in the Boot podcast, the podcast coming to you from the heel of the boot of Southwest Louisiana. I am your host, G Long. Sitting across the way with a busted lip is Deb.
Hello, all. Story of my life.
Yeah, well, That's right. That'll teach you.
Abused.
That'll
Just
teach
abused.
you. Watch your lip.
That's what's happened to me. No, I got to keep
Don't
talking.
let me do it a second time.
I'm going to keep talking, although science says we should learn to shut up.
Other than the busted lip, you done okay?
Yeah. No, actually, I'm not.
No, you're all messed up. We'll get to that.
We don't need to get to that.
Nobody needs to hear all
nobody
your
needs to
whining
hear
and your
all my griping.
Hey, if you'd like to whine and complain, you can reach the Long in the Boot podcast at 337-502-9011 or at the email at longintheboot@gmail.com and the website for all your past podcast needs. It is longintheboot.com. And there you go.
More than 100 episodes.
All right. Yeah, that's right. Over the century mark.
Over 11,000 downloads.
Yeah.
We're just moving along.
Moving right along from the heel of the boot.
It's really noticeable, though, when you have a general number of downloads per day, and then one day you get
week.
like 6. No, 1 day.
Oh, yeah, one day.
And on Monday.
I still don't know why that happened, but
I don't know.
It must be legit. I mean, I'm looking at how they do it, and maybe.
All right.
Okay, if you say so.
Something happened last Monday.
Maybe somebody's out there just starting it up again every time. I'm going to play it on 7 different devices.
I keep worried. Maybe we said something so outrageous that we're going to end up getting in trouble for something. I can't even
cease and desist.
I can't even remember what we said.
It'll be something that we played that we shouldn't have played that was like copyrighted from like episode 2.
Yeah. I don't know.
Huh? Was that us? Are you sure?
I didn't say that. And then they play it. Although in
at episode 2, you could just go, I wasn't here.
In America today, though, does it even matter?
Copyright?
Well, no.
Does it?
Not copyright, but when you just go, I didn't do that. And they have evidence, but it doesn't seem to matter.
Yeah, I don't remember doing that.
I didn't do that. Well, but we have you on film and audio, and here you are doing it. That's not me. No, it is you.
I did not have sex with that woman, that Monica Lewinsky.
Could you
define is?
Monica has done just fine.
She has.
So
for a lady whose dress was despoiled.
She's come back after all that.
Oh yeah, she's had a pretty good run.
Okay.
Now her friend, not so much. The one who encouraged her to keep the dress.
Oh.
Or no, she actually encoured her to not wash the dress.
Not wash it, yeah.
That was the key. Don't wash.
That's an Old Navy does, don't you?
Hey, speaking of DNA.
What? Wow.
You like that?
I did like that.
If people haven't been paying attention and you've sent your DNA to 23andMe, guess what? It's about to go on sale. 23andMe went public a while back, and something happened. I'm not exactly sure what happened.
How the company
but their stock price just tanked. I mean, it's like dropped by 99% from its high.
And then I would say you'd need to research who is trying to purchase it because.
Well, nobody's trying to purchase it. This has to do with the lady who started it, and I don't know her name. I don't have anything in front of me.
You didn't research it.
No.
You're just throwing something.
No. It's from an article I read.
I saw the headline.
And but anyway, so she wanted to go back private. She wanted to take the company out of the NASDAQ and make it a private company again.
Okay.
She said that going public was a mistake. And
I've made a terrible mistake.
So all of her board, who are big movers and shakers in the tech fields, the board quit.
Oh, they walked on her?
They walked on her, which means, of course, is she can still do this. It is still her company. She has controlling interest. So she could take the company private. Once she does that, she can sell everybody's genetic information.
My point. Who
to
would
anyone.
want to purchase that, and what is their nefarious? Because there's not a
Well, you could just
good-
gunny sack it, just buy it,
and hold
buy
on
the
to it.
information, because you can get the DNA profile for everybody now. So imagine if you're China and you're thinking, well, we can't poison everybody at once, but what if we could develop specific poisons to a
trigger-
person for their genetics? So you want to kill Bob Smith. Well, if you've got his DNA, you can make a poison that won't kill anybody but Bob Smith.
I think I saw that on like a Monk episode.
Probably
or something.
so.
Well, I guess that's very similar to the technology terror that was just experienced and the whole world now knows can happen. That your
with
your
the
device,
pagers, yeah. If you were sleeping under a stone, of course you saw that story or didn't see that story, but most people I know don't sleep under stones. So, Israel figured out a way to do the pager thing and blow up all those pagers and de-nut some people.
And as terrifying
and killed
as
some
that
children
is,
too, I should point out.
Yeah, innocence. That just opens it up for anybody who has bad thoughts.
Yeah.
And now anything could happen.
And I would like to point out, now this is not taking sides, but according to Benjamin Crazy Fun Guy Netanyahu, the reason they're doing this is because they want the people in the northern part of Israel to be able to go home, which they have not been able to do because Hezbollah in Lebanon has been launching random rocket attacks, just willy-nilly, just every now and then, just fire a few rockets right into those areas. Now, one of the weird things about that, of course, is that years ago, that area was designated as one of the places that Palestinians would have. And Israeli settlers kept basically just storming in there and taking more and more of it and building settlements. So the people are going to go home to the area that they're not supposed to be in, according to the agreement that Israel did sign on to years ago. And I don't see this, Yeah. Now, this week, Israel has totally decapitated Hezbollah as far as their leadership, which begs the question, what's Iran going to do? Because
balls in your court.
Well, Iran has lost basically all of the people running Hezbollah. Those were Iranian contacts.
There's always
not in this case.
They'll step up.
No, in this case, these are people who've been serving in their positions for 25, 30, 35, 40 years. These are not people who, and they didn't just take out them. They took out the next level too.
Well, maybe things will change now. Maybe you have people with different views.
But what's the change?
I don't know.
Yeah.
There is no end, and therefore this one I can't.
Again, it's all religious in nature.
It's all terrorism.
And
both sides.
It's all terrorism.
It's murder.
When you're dropping bombs on people because they're in proximity to other people,
and you absolutely
to me that's terrorism.
Refuse to discuss things and try to come to some kind of resolution.
Well, we even had the situation this week where, what's that?
Nothing.
You have an issue with it?
No.
Oh, is microphone giving you static?
Stop talking to me. There. Okay.
There you go. Netanyahu was coming over, and the United States announced that they had reached some kind of agreement on a ceasefire.
No, they didn't.
And then when Netanyahu got off the
there you go.
Yahoo Nut got off the plane, he was like, "No, I don't know what they're talking about."
But we'll stop bombing for 3 days so we can get these kids.
They didn't.
They didn't allow the kids to be medicated for polio.
Oh, that was the other day. That was in Gaza.
Well, I know that was like a month ago, but
that was in Gaza. That's old
news.
The
idea that you would do something like that, we're denying reality here.
Well, if you're thinking about it, really what you do is you announce free shots and you get all the kids there. Then you bomb them. Then you've taken care of future terrorist problems.
Okay.
Hey, there you go.
Well, now your sarcasm is ugly, and I don't like it.
I'm sorry, but the whole thing is ugly, and I don't like it.
I don't know. The problem, I think the world shouldn't.
But that's sort of kind of where we're at today. Our topic in a way.
We're not talking about that.
Nobody
wants to talk about that the whole hour.
For those of you who are unaware, but know that I am, in fact, a teacher, this year I have classes.
It's been 6 years.
I've been doing special ed for 6 years, and I haven't really been in a classroom except for 1 hour a day.
So you had a chunk of, 17, 18 years of standing in front of 30-plus kids every hour teaching, and then you had 6 years of sitting at a desk.
Sitting on my
and
butt.
Working with one or two.
Developing my hemorrhoids. And
you are so ugly today. I don't even want to talk to you now. I'm going to take these headphones off.
Hey, they're pretty hemorrhoids. You know what? I can tell you just don't like that word.
I don't.
Hemorrhoid.
It's a reality I don't want to discuss. Another one. Where are you taking this? I thought I was here to help the episode.
I fell into a burning ring of fire.
Okay. So now you're teaching again.
So anyway, yes, I'm teaching again. Look, don't be in a bad mood because your tooth hurts.
Cut that out. Just cut all that out.
You're just whining because your tooth hurts.
It does hurt.
And you're going to go see a dentist tomorrow.
Finally, after a month.
That's right.
Pain.
And hopefully he'll beat that thing into submission.
She.
Oh, that's right. I
Dr.
forgot.
Grace.
Dr. Grace.
Okay.
Yay, Dr. Grace.
Yay, Dr. Grace.
Anyway, this week, though, talking to some of my students of the roughly 10th grade persuasion.
Oh, it wasn't the older kids?
No, but they have the same problem, which is this. One of the things I've noticed is kids today versus kids, say, 10 years ago or longer, have this idea that the world is unfair. Because
that's not new for young people.
No.
Well, even older people.
But they just expect the world to be the way they think it ought to be.
Yes.
And don't understand why things are the way they are. And it started with, weirdly enough, and I think a lot of former students will have an understanding of this, it started with school uniforms and school dress codes and hair. And earrings and nose rings and beards and all those things that I personally think teenagers should be allowed to explore. Kids have this idea that rules are created just arbitrarily. Like there's no reason for anyone to have rules that are created because of something. They don't seem to grasp that people don't generally make rules ahead of the problem.
No, they wait till the problem comes.
The rules
along.
are created after the problem.
Dress code is where you were.
And so dress code is where we were, but then when it moved gradually because we're doing civics, it moved into government and politics.
And
why can't it just be the way it's supposed to be? Because we're talking about the foundational documents of the U.S. government
that set us up for a
pretty good system.
Just system, yes.
But they also left it possible to fix this thing as we go through history, because the founding fathers were well aware. The founders.
We're well aware
that
we would change things.
Things would change,
yes.
And so they made it so you could change things, but they didn't make it easy.
No, and it shouldn't be easy.
Of course not, because then you end up with a Louisiana Constitution where you got like 140 amendments or something.
Yeah.
Anyway, so then it became this thing about, well, there's what ought to be, and then there's reality, and you have to deal with the reality.
Yes.
And like I said, reality can be changed. The reality is that you can change what's going on, but you will never achieve what ought to be.
You won't achieve that perfection.
No. And so that's where young people today, I think, sort of they've been raised in kind of a bubble.
Yes.
Because they don't comprehend that things were different in a big way as far as mentality goes.
Well, they just think that that's old people saying, when I was young, and it just gets old to them.
I can see
every generation does that.
Right, but they have no desire to attempt to change it. That's my fear, is that they're just going to accept it. And my thing is, no.
You got two choices, actually three. Two choices are accept it or change it or just succumb to it.
And so I've got bunches of these. But why this? Whatever. But why X? Because that's just the way it is. That's how history works.
Well, isn't that how the younger generation steps up and changes things? Isn't that how we got
That's
segregation?
How they should. That's how it should go.
And you don't think it's going to happen this time?
I'm worried that it's not going to happen because they want the government to do it. And the thing is, the government has no reason to do it.
Well, no.
The government functions with or without. It doesn't matter. The government's taking our tax dollars, is taking our money, and doing whatever they want with it.
They're living at the means that they create for themselves.
Correct.
And they continue to squeeze us in order to gain that. And
continue to bend and mold the rules to suit them, which goes back to the idea of critical theory, which is the people in power make the world that suits them best. But my worry is these kids, when it doesn't go really right for them, they tend to withdraw as opposed to react.
Oh,
in the 60s,
the anxiety. Yeah.
In the 60s, when enough young people died in Vietnam,
out.
they finally snapped.
Yeah, they lashed out.
What's it going to take for a generation to snap
I don't
as a
know.
group, not individually? We see that. We see individuals snapping all the time.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the age group, the whole cohort.
And I'm with you. I'm consistently telling them the same things. You know, they work for us, and you guys have to be the generation that are going to be the ones to step up and change.
And when I try to point out how this stuff has been going on for a really long time, they're like, well, how do you know? And I said, well, because you read history and you see the same patterns repeat over and over and over and over. So you kind of have an idea of how things are going to go.
It's going to continue to repeat, yes.
But there have been times where things have changed, obviously, the revolution and the founding of the United States being one of the big ones.
But now look what we've done to ourselves.
We've painted ourselves into a corner.
Okay, so psychologically, they're living in this cognitive dissonance.
Well, they're living in what ought to be.
Because people, we like habits, we like routines. We've already established that in past episodes, and that makes us feel comfortable. But sometimes our life and our thoughts don't jive, and that reality is a problem.
Right. But young people today, and this is a fact, suffer from anxiety more than any generation, as far as we can tell in history. Now, if that is true, why is it? It's because they live in a world where they expect what ought to be reality, but it never is.
Well, no, because we have to adjust our mental attitudes and the reality of the world around us all the time.
And they're fed a diet from social media of complaining. But nobody doing, just complaining.
Well, no, they're doing little TikTok videos, and they're telling you what you should do and how you should act and what you should wear and how to deal with the stress and anxiety. I mean, there are some positive examples out there. I'm sure there are.
And young people today are more accepting of those that are different than I think any generation I've seen before.
I had that conversation recently too on a slow day.
This is not a criticism of young people today.
No, because
it's a criticism of society and how we have basically screwed them over.
We've set them up for a future that's
because our government and people aren't doing what they should do.
No, and everybody sees it.
Yes.
So we've got
visible.
We've got 20 years of politicians and people in the limelight and media pushing things, and then we find out the truth and we can't do anything about it. So mentally this is a problem. We have dissonance. You know, there's no jive with what should be and what is.
Right.
And you can't get to it.
And
so
it doesn't help when you have
psychologically adjust to that. I did have a young lady who said that very thing, and she was just she was upset.
Well, what did she say?
Well, I can't remember now. I was about to say it and I forgot.
Oh well. It'll come to you.
It will come to me. I was holding on to it, and then by the time we got there, I couldn't bring it forth.
I realized that we have a situation now where young people are starting to go, but this is what should be happening, and it's like you're right.
Yeah,
I do
have a few who refuse to get on TikTok and they recognize what's being done there. I mean, very few, but there are several.
And the people who are in power. And the people who should know better are the ones who are screwing everything up.
Well, they're the ones who are. If Netanyahu is a man who is supposed to be revered and held up as a high-end politician, and these are the people that are getting put into office, and we recognize that he's destroying thousands of lives. I know that there were terrorists.
Oh yeah, but think about the contracts to rebuild. Oh
yes,
man,
and that's about to happen in the Ukraine. And poor little Zelensky comes over here and has to 5'5"
Zelensky.
He's got to kowtow to Trump and to Kamala because
Kamala.
I don't even know. See, what's that reality? What is that woman's name? Do you want to get the little montage of her saying her own name in 16 different ways? You know what? That is a perfect example of how a politician is.
Kamala.
I'll be who I need to be in the audience I need to be in.
Hey, speaking of, I'm going to bring this up because I heard it today, and it's like, oh, wow. And it was the Janet Jackson thing, because during the week.
And I'm just wondering why we even hear her name now.
I know, but this is why, because it was all over the media, because she said she doesn't support Kamala and would not vote for her. And then she even questioned her blackness, which I don't care about that. What I find funny, though, was the linkage between why she doesn't like Kamala and her brother, Michael Jackson. It's because Kamala was the one who was trying to bring Michael Jackson down. When she was the Attorney General of California. Yeah.
I see. Okay.
Yeah. So she was the one. So now I understand completely why Janet Jackson does not like Kamala Harris.
I don't think that's going to affect the vote very much.
No, it's not. I just thought it was interesting.
I'm just going to call her Miss Harris. Miss Harris.
If you're nasty.
Exactly. Because Miss Harris has the support of Miss Swift.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
So,
good point.
Who's the nastier?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Miss Swift.
Yeah. Although she hasn't had a nipple reveal on TV.
Yeah. What about that?
Yeah. So Janet had the wardrobe malfunction. So here we are.
Wait, hang on. You didn't do that right. You have to go like this. Malfunction. See how I wink when I say it?
So basically, we all have this defense mechanism where we try to, ignore reality to avoid. And
so I
stress.
thought, these kids may be onto something, because one of the things they said was, it's stupid to not allow people to have whatever color hair they want in school, which I'm in full agreement.
Yeah, I don't care.
In school, I don't care. You're a teenager. You want to express yourself. It's one of the few times in your entire life where you can have agency over your own hair. Once you go into the work world, you probably won't.
Yeah, well,
in high school, you should be allowed to have agency over your body.
But high school says they're training them for the real world. You're going to wear a name tag. You might have to wear a helmet.
But we're not really training them for the real world, because the real world is nothing like high school except for the social interactions.
Yeah, okay, don't even try that.
But as far as
it absolutely
making them making them learn stuff that they're never going to use in their work life and all that. We don't.
I learned all kinds of stuff in my work life that I'm never going to use anywhere else. Daily life is nothing.
Kids who are sitting there learning algebra, who are going to go into a workforce where they're never going to use it, that is a waste of time.
Yes, math was a waste of my life.
Whereas we say how important that is.
But I learned
But we don't care about history and social studies because, that doesn't matter. That's the past. It absolutely matters because you can learn about the future by studying the past.
And some people need the math because what they do for a living.
If they're going to do that.
Well, we don't.
But they'll gravitate that way.
But that's my point to them. Why do we
Kids
who
suck at math aren't going to go into a field where math is a major requirement. That's just common sense.
Not generally, but we had a math teacher at McNeese, a professor who sucked at math growing up, and she became a math teacher because she finally got it.
Okay, but she was good at it, so she gravitated to what she was good at.
I think.
Anyway.
Wow.
So I took what the students said, and I said, well, what about the people in charge? Maybe because the kids were like, why are the people in charge making these stupid rules? And why aren't they doing something else? Why aren't they doing more important things? And I thought, well, the authority in our life is the government. And it's city government, state government, and we're in a civics class. So I started looking up people who should know better and creating a world where what ought to be just can't happen because of basically inability to do their jobs. And the first one I came across, the very first thing was organ transplants.
Okay.
In America, currently, right now, there are more than 100,000 Americans waiting for an organ transplant. Most of them will die without ever getting one.
Sure.
Okay, here's the problem, and I'm going to use kidneys as an example.
Money?
No, actually, it's not money at all.
People don't want to give up their organs.
That's not it either. There are 17,000 kidneys that were received last year from people who died. 1 out of every 5 of those kidneys is thrown away after being harvested. It's just thrown away because it didn't satisfy the various procurement requirements.
Oh, so they didn't legally get it.
Well, or there was something not right on the paperwork, like a T wasn't crossed.
Okay.
Because everything has to be absolutely exact.
Well, isn't it computer generated now? Don't they do it all by computer?
Well, you'd like to think so, but it turns out that the government is in charge of making all of this happen. Mm-hmm. It is a monopoly. It is a procurement organization. In America currently today, there are 56 procurement organizations known as OPOs, Organ Procurement Organizations.
So pretty much
56 OPOs.
One per state, with 2 in California or something. And
they operate in territories across this country.
Yeah.
And only 6 of them collected more than 50% of all the organs donated.
Wait, say that again?
Only 6 of the 56 collected half of all the organs.
Why? Are they in large?
Because their
urban
districts
areas?
Are in high
big
income districts.
Oh, so those people, so the rich people, so it is money.
Right. And it's not supposed to be, though. Remember, money's not supposed to be a part of this.
Well, nobody's going down into the hood and saving JJ with a kidney transplant if somebody else needs a kidney that has insurance.
Right. But currently, that's why that organ's getting thrown away.
So instead of even trying, we're just going to toss it?
Because nobody stepped up to get it, even though there are people who need it.
Okay.
Because poor people don't have the money.
Yeah.
And they don't have the insurance.
And so that's the reality of a situation that should be easily
what ought to be 100% of donated organs should 100%
get to somebody.
Should get to somebody
if it matches.
If they're in need. And these all match. This is nothing to do with matching. This is totally just waste.
Oh.
I didn't even know there was a date where they could go bad. But so what the case is being made that maybe we should legalize the sale of kidneys and other organs.
Oh, good Lord. Oh, no.
But the government wants to be in charge of it.
No. Well, if they're mucking it up now, why would we give them the ability to muck it up every time?
Exactly. Now, here's the best part. If you get a kidney and you're in need of one, you save the taxpayers $250,000 a year.
By just getting the kidney and
not having dialysis.
Moving on with your life. And
dialysis is a $250,000 a year business. Now, here's the funny part. Of that $250,000 in dialysis, nearly all of it is insurance costs.
Oh, good God. Okay.
So even the people who have to do dialysis, if they could pay for it out of their pocket and actually for what it actually costs, then it would be way less. But because the government is the one running this system.
Then the 6-cent Tylenol you just took is going to cost you $82.
The question about, why can't we have what ought to be? This is a perfect example.
Yeah.
Because there's no way you can come up with a reason
why that can't be fixed.
Right. But nobody's going to fix it. There's not even an effort.
Because nobody sees a problem? Okay, but no, because the young people aren't stepping up.
In 2021, Department of Health and Human Services report concluded that the single source contract for the United Network for Organ Sharing, which is what we're talking about, meant that the organization had zero incentive to improve its operations. It's getting all its money. It's getting all its organs. It has no reason to get better.
So then it needs to be a for-profit.
Yes.
That's their argument.
Yes.
If it becomes for-profit, then we'll have to make it better.
Because currently, if they have to throw away a kidney, they're like, oh, well, 4 people got them.
Oh, wow.
So
okay.
Ought to be.
Yes.
Versus reality.
Reality.
That's the problem. And I have more on this.
On the same topic?
No.
Oh, okay.
On reality versus what ought to be. Let's go to Walmart.
Yes.
We all love to go to Walmart, don't we?
Actually, it's a chore every week.
Well, when you go to Walmart, you know how sometimes you go to Walmart and the checkers are so busy.
Yes.
And you feel like.
And there's only 2 of them.
You know what? I'm going to self-check.
Yes.
It's so much easier. If we self-check, then we won't have nearly the same problem. Well, all right. So Megan Pettipies, former Olympic athlete, arrested for failing to scan a ham and an asparagus or a package of asparagus at a Walmart self-check. Now, she bought $176 worth of other groceries.
So you think they'd let her slide on the ham and the asparagus?
But while she was checking out, security police were called.
Oh, okay.
So she didn't even know this was happening.
I've never even seen that happen at Walmart. I've never seen anybody arrested or pulled aside.
Okay. When police arrived and searched her purse,
good God.
They found 3 vape pens and 2 unopened packs of Zofran, a medication used to prevent nausea and vomiting in cancer patients.
Oh, good Lord. Well,
it's a controlled substance, but it does not produce a high or euphoria that drug users seek.
Well, what the hell does that have to do with a ham and an asparagus that they're accusing her of stealing?
What ought to be reality.
Well, I mean, why is that even in the story?
Nevertheless, Pettipies was charged for stealing the unscanned items and for possession of cannabis and a controlled substance. In the aftermath of the arrest, with a torrent of headlines sweeping across the state, Pettipies resigned from her role. She was asked to resign from an NCAA Division I softball coach at Valparaiso University.
Oh, she was a softball coach?
It was later revealed that she indeed did scan the ham and asparagus, but the scanner failed to register the scans.
Well, can't they just pull up the video?
The vape pens had no THC. It was nicotine.
Oh, God.
And the anti-nausea pills did not belong to her. She had them in her purse for someone else.
And what does that even matter?
The Indiana Department of Justice dropped all charges against Pettipies, but the damage is done. She can't get her job back.
Because she was arrested.
Because she was charged.
Oh, because she was charged.
And that's the way the contracts. Our contracts are written the same way. So, if you get charged, you lose your job.
No matter what. Even if the charges are dropped later.
You've been charged.
Cleared and...
it has changed everything in my life, she said. It's been 5 months. It's been a living nightmare. I lost my career. I lost my job, the life I was building. It was very, very difficult. She said, perhaps we are all just one police stop away from having our lives ruined.
Yes.
And then she added, unless you're rich, of course.
Oh, I don't know. Ask Diddy.
Well, again, the way things ought to be. Remember civics class?
Yes.
The way things ought to be. Equal justice under the law.
For everybody.
For everyone, no matter your income. That's equal justice.
But when you tell the kids that, they recognize that's bullshit, right?
Actually, I have to kind of let them know that I have to kind of point it out. That's what started all of this. That's why I'm bringing it up now, is because I want parents out there with young kids to let them know the reality and the way it should be.
Well, you know what?
You do both.
I'll bet you black parents let their their children know, boys and girls, that
like when you get pulled over in a car,
how you need to behave, because that reality and what should be and what is are two different things.
By the way, that Ronald Green, the one who was beaten to death by all the state troopers a while back, they've dropped most of the charges now against all the people that beat him. So what ought to be in reality.
Yeah, but see, that's all gone to the back burner now, and we don't really talk about all that. So now that it's out of the limelight, we don't have to.
By the way, there's a lawyer that I found that talked about the scanners at Walmart.
Yeah.
You actually give up a lot of your rights when you use those scanners, weirdly enough.
You're on video no matter what.
Here's the weird part. If you pick something up on the shelf and you walk out the door with it, you've shoplifted, no question, and they can search you. If you're using the self-check scanner, they can actually get you before you go out the door.
Oh, inside.
They can pull you inside while you're still there. I mean, look, that woman,
because they're accusing you of shoplifting. It's the same.
Well, here, my
crime.
thing is, it's just common sense. If you're the police and you show up and you see that she spent $176, but she stole $6 worth of asparagus and ham.
Yeah.
Jesus, asparagus? Really? A person who eats asparagus doesn't shoplift.
Isn't stealing? Probably not.
I'm telling you, I could go and interview 50 shoplifters, and I'll bet you zero eat asparagus.
And are stealing, actual produce.
Asparagus is not something to shoplift.
No, it's not.
Toilet paper?
Okay, so the lawyer then suggests we not use the self-check.
That's right. She said because the machines make errors, and more and more, the legal system is opting to support the errors.
Yeah.
versus the person.
Again, because computers, they do it perfectly.
And so our system of jurisprudence doesn't cover that at all.
Because the forefathers didn't know that.
Yeah, of course. They couldn't possibly have known.
I'm sorry, the founders.
The framers.
Yeah.
Those dirty white men. Those horrible white men, slave-owning men.
I'm trying to self-regulate. I am. I just don't know.
But she says, you want to use people. And really, honestly, let's face it, if everybody stopped going to self-check and we all just said, you know what, I'm going to stand in line an extra 10 minutes today
and just wait.
In order to not use that stupid thing. Eventually, they'll have to start hiring more people.
I did see that a lot of places are rethinking the self-checkouts, not because of that.
Theft.
Just theft in general.
Theft in general. Yeah. And so there you go. So they're so worried about theft, though, that they'll attack a woman who just spent almost $200 because she may have gotten out of there with some asparagus. You know what? You should be thrilled that somebody's stealing asparagus.
They're taking it off your shelves because otherwise it's going to get thrown away like a used kidney.
A used kidney.
Well,
hey, you know what? If we're not going to use the kidney for a transplant, I'm thinking there are some fine cannibals, some fine young cannibals.
Oh, no.
Fine young cannibals.
Oh, God, you're bad today. Dog food, cat food.
There you go. Sure. But should we be feeding our dogs human kidneys?
I don't know.
Pigs will eat it.
Oh, yeah, they will.
Absolutely.
But then what kind of weird mad cow pig disease?
No, I don't know. They'll go through bone like butter.
And, okay, never mind. I'm going to go off on a tangent.
Go ahead.
No, I'm just thinking about what the humans have done to the kidney, what they've put it through.
Oh.
And then if you send it on to the animals, maybe you do create something you shouldn't, I saw a story about the state of your body after you die, and that they now realize there's like another state, like your cells start doing things.
Oh, yeah. They go off and do weird crap on their own.
Yeah. And like that's a state of life.
Well, it is a form of life.
It is a form of life.
Life is happening inside your body for quite some time after you die.
Yes, but this is something they didn't know was going on because they didn't continue researching, I guess, or something.
But what is that stuff? TCP or I don't remember. It's that chemical. ATP.
ATP.
That's it. That keeps your cells function. Like we're all 5 minutes away from death at all times.
At all times, we're all precariously balanced.
And so
that should make us just
right
crazy.
there.
Yeah.
5 minutes. Everybody's running on 5 minutes.
We should be, enjoying life.
So a couple more things about these kids, because I discovered my kids. I'm really enjoying teaching again. It's kind of interesting because it's a different generation than I've had in the past.
That's true. And the post-COVID generation.
And they are the first post-COVID class I ever had. One of the things was all the rules. They really don't like a lot of stupid rules, and they're pretty quick to see rules that are dumb.
Yes.
Speaking of rules,
as they walk through their metal detectors every morning.
A perfect example.
With their laptop above their head.
Yes. Which they could bash somebody in the head with, but it's not going to set off the detectors.
No, that wouldn't do that.
And their pencils don't set off detectors, but you could certainly jack someone's day up with a pencil.
Well, don't give people ideas.
Well, I'm just saying. And then we have the metal detectors inside the building, but everybody's getting off the bus 25 yards away. You know what I mean?
I don't. You know what? They're pretty complacent.
There's no way to
I'm not thinking anything's going to
happen.
Well,
there's no way to make a 100% safe school, flat out.
Well, because you can't make a safe life.
And especially when you have as many windows as we have.
Yes.
Because it's an old school. But on a really nice day, I love the fact that we have so many windows.
Okay.
Anyway, this one was a surprise because he was like, well, why do people make stupid rules? And I was like, honestly, power is the only reason I can think of. So here you go.
As opposed to the good rules that are because people do stupid shit.
If you're, let's say you're a 18-year-old, you walk into a convenience store, grocery store, and you pick up a 6-pack of non-alcoholic beer. Okay. No alcohol.
You're not allowed to buy it, though.
You have to show your ID to the cashier.
Yeah. Why?
As a matter of inventory protocol, non-alcoholic beers are categorized under the same SKU numbers as regular beer, which can cause you to be carded at the register.
Yeah, because they're putting them on the same shelf in the same cooler.
Well, it turns out that's not necessary young people can buy non-alcoholic beer.
Okay.
You're legally allowed to buy it right now. Experts are calling on state governments to impose age restrictions on the sale of non-alcoholic drinks. Not just beer, any non-alcoholic drink.
Any drink.
So like if you asked for a virgin mudslide, you need to show your ID.
Well, but that's in a restaurant or situation. What about, are we talking cans? Like, are we looking at Red Bull and these kind of?
No, these are non-alcoholic drinks. So basically, virgin drinks or non-alcoholic beer. They are calling on state governments to do this because we need to protect against underage alcohol consumption.
But there's no alcohol in the virgin drinks.
They are gateway drinks.
Well, now that's a slippery slope. That's a really slippery slope. We can go there for so many things.
And the fun part of this is...
that's why our generation smoked cigarettes, because we had those candy cigarettes.
Currently, underage drinking of non-alcoholic beer, less than 1%.
How is it underage drinking if they're not drinking?
It gets better. Psychologists are saying because of how human beings work mentally, if we put age restrictions on non-alcoholic beverages, they will actually consume more of them.
Oh, so this is the lobby group for the non-alcoholic beer industry trying to get
I think
sales?
This is undercover beer people, real alcohol people, trying to gin up.
So it is a gateway. They're trying to encourage the gateway. It's a devilish marketing scheme.
And when they asked for, proof of all of this, they cited a study. You know where the study was done?
No.
Japan.
Those people drink like just fish.
And it turns out that those who had consumed non-alcoholic beverages consumed alcoholic beverages when they were adults.
Wow.
Yeah. And after polling the 57 Japanese students in the study, 57.
That's it.
That's the study.
That was the whole study?
That was the study. 57 Japanese students.
Wow.
So basically now you've got people demanding that they have an ID, that you have to show an ID to purchase a non-alcoholic beer.
That doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make any sense, but this is exactly what the young people at school the other day in my class were pointing out.
Yes, we're saying.
The idiocy of adults.
Well, no, I see this as a clever new reverse psychology kind of marketing scheme. I think somebody's got a grand idea to increase sales and create more drinkers in the future. Well,
what I do like is this study where they interviewed American students, more than 5,000.
Oh, for real then.
Who have consumed alcoholic drinks underage. Guess where? 70%. 70%. Guess where they got it?
From their adults.
From their parents.
Well, of course.
The very people
why?
Who are demanding.
Because it's illegal for them to buy it.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they're going to get carded. And it becomes a problem. We do try to keep a handle on that.
And it turns out the more stringent age restrictions that are passed on non-alcoholic beers or beverages, the more teens drink them. So that is a fact.
That's psychology.
Yeah, that's what the psychologists are saying.
That does. Okay.
And the final fun fact of all of this, the irony of ought to be and reality, underage drinking rates have plummeted since the 1980s.
Yes.
Like 80%.
Because they really do keep a good handle on keeping kids from buying alcohol and consuming it in bars.
They have spent millions of dollars trying to figure out a way to get Gen Z to drink.
Yeah.
Because they don't.
Well, we're gonna make stupid laws.
Well, no, they just get high. But still, I think it's funny.
They're all on Adderall.
And here's the best part. As an underage person, you can go in and buy kombucha. It has alcohol more than non-alcoholic beer.
Yeah.
You can buy energy drinks out the wazoo. You don't need an ID for that. Oh, you can't buy spray paint.
No, you gotta show your ID for that.
You gotta show your ID. What if we have a non paint spray paint?
For the underage, spray paint for the underage.
Sure.
Yes.
So anyway, you got that. And I thought that was a lot of fun. And to wrap up my end before we get to your...
It hurts my head.
Well, I'm going to talk about a good thing now, which is because, kids are... Today in America, kids are they've been sold this bill of goods that they're always in danger from strangers.
Well, yeah, the parents have.
Oh, my God.
We put it on the news. We hear the worst stories, most horrible things.
Well, have you ever heard of dropping?
Dropping. Is it like swatting?
No. It's a tradition. The Netherlands has it, but other European countries have it too. And what they do is they have these gatherings where they take a bunch of kids and they blindfold them and they take them out in the middle of the woods with like a map and a flashlight and drop them off.
So actually,
and leave.
It's a rite of passage kind of thing.
And
because our kids don't have a rite of passage now.
Our kids don't develop independence anymore because parents are afraid to.
Yes.
And so kids are not developing independence. That's what I'm seeing, too, as a teacher.
Absolutely.
Kids don't have the ability.
No, and they willingly say that. I have to call my mom for everything. I text my mom. I can't go to the grocery store without texting
They're
my
afraid
mom.
of making a mistake on a simple worksheet.
Yes.
You're allowed to make a mistake.
You learn from that.
Yes.
We all learn from you asking a stupid question.
As I told him the other day, where do you know where the edge is unless you step over it?
Yes.
That's the thing. It turns out that it's done all over Europe, and it's this idea that you need to teach kids independence in an early age. And they were pointing out that in Europe, it's not unusual to see like a first grader riding a train by himself.
Yeah.
He's going to school.
Yes.
He's riding the train.
Here they get arrested.
Here your parents get arrested for that kind of stuff. And it happens all over the place in Europe. And it turns out that, yes, it does build independence. But one of the things it really does is it nullifies anxiety.
Yeah, because our kids
Independent
are terrified.
children don't suffer from anxiety.
Yeah. Because they can make some decisions.
They can depend on themselves.
They have some control. See, and the control thing is part of the mental aspect of reality versus what you want it to be. The expectation and then what reality is. Well, if you have to go out there and deal with that on your own and you solve your problem, huzzah, I have a strategy to deal with that kind of thing so I can handle it better.
Right.
Yeah.
And anxiety is something that our kids are getting worse and worse about. We see it. I mean, I get kids.
They
suffer. They suffer from anxiety. Yeah. And I was laughing because one of the things I got in this article about Europe and the idea of dropping, literally just abandoning a kid in the woods, I love it, is training wheels.
Yeah.
The sale of training wheels is almost non-existent in Europe. The United States is one of the only countries
that still does a training
and the Japanese
wheel.
do it too.
Okay.
But training wheels. Now, think about what training wheels really are. We like to say, well, it's so my kids can learn how to ride a bike. No, it's so we don't have to see our kids fall off and get hurt.
Exactly.
But maybe that's the key.
I only had one training wheel. He wouldn't put both of them on.
Because once, it's like climbing a tree and falling out. Once you fall out, you realize, well, I didn't die, so I can climb a tree again.
Yeah, probably.
If I crash my bicycle, I can get up. But you can't crash a bicycle when you got training wheels on.
But we never look at the 99 times that happens. All we know about is the one kid who broke his neck when he fell.
Well, of course, but that's going to happen anyway.
Or the one child who got, in a bike wreck that killed him. Well, those are the ones we hear about. That's why parents are so damn afraid.
Predestination, Deb. He was going to die anyway.
Okay. I watch a kid fall off a bike all day long.
I will watch your kid fall off a bike all day long and never wipe the smile off my face.
At least that's a more recent reference, unlike our commercials from the 70s that nobody would know but us.
When in this world the headlines reads of those whose hearts are filled with greed, who rob and steal from those who need to right this wrong. Blinding speed comes underdog. There, I did it.
I told you it would come when it was ready.
I feel so much better now.
All right, you got it out.
I got it out.
Wow. Are we coming to an end in our conversation?
Well, we're getting to the end, but you had something you wanted to talk about.
I did, and then you were going to slide us out with one last.
Well.
Okay, we'll see.
Butter.
So my story had to
slide us out with butter.
My story had to do with the fact that
it's not baby oil. Go ahead.
We don't have a Costco, dear. There's no Costco close to us. Can't get 1,000 bottles of baby oil. What's wrong with you? That science has discovered that people don't know when to shut up.
Huh?
Conversation-wise. People don't know
I don't
how
understand what you're saying.
people don't know how to extricate themselves from a conversation. And it appears that both parties are at points wanting to get out of a conversation, and they just don't know how. So they generally, and when they studied, or when they did all these studies, they first started with people that you know, friends and coworkers, and then they went to thousands of people to have conversations with people that they didn't know at all, ranging in time from 1 minute to 45 minutes.
That gives me anxiety.
Exactly, and that was what was happening. They were anxious. They couldn't figure out how to get out of the conversation. They almost never end when both parties want them to. And that each partner is actually a really poor judge of when the other person wants to get out.
Yeah.
Like, we're not recognizing that it's time. Me personally, I try to use social or physical cues. I try to pay attention. Are their eyes darting off to the side? Did they just look up at a clock? I mean, my students don't, because they can't read it.
Yeah, good point.
And now they don't have their phone to look at.
Oh, yeah. Parents, if your kids can't read a regular clock, please teach them.
Please teach them, because I will forever and always have 2 analog clocks in my room. But they used to have a cell phone they could look at. So whatever, you might as well just leave when you're ready to leave, because the other person may already be wanting to get out of it, So this is a new behavior, a new social behavior that psychology is really starting to look at. About how long you should go, in a conversation. And
like at a party?
Well, yeah, at anything. And apparently when you learn to shut up and just let things be quiet after you say something, people start judging you as more intelligent. You're more likely to get a raise if you ask for a raise.
But how will people know how smart I am if I don't tell them?
Well, apparently they come to these things on their own with that. It's a really strange kind of
weird
situation. But most people find silence way too awkward, so they feel they just have to keep going. Society, values talkativeness and extroversion. We like TV. We like entertainment.
We talked about that with the movie Civil War.
Yeah,
about how much of it was silent.
Yeah.
Just music.
Well, I mean, actors like Clint Eastwood, what is he known for? Not what he says, except...
No, it's squinting his eyes.
Except one phrase.
Oh, get off my lawn.
No.
Oh.
Do you feel lucky, punk?
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that one. Well, do you?
Psychology really wants us to, become comfortable with some silence, just because, okay, you appear more confident. When you do speak, people actually listen more intently.
Yeah, that's true.
Because you don't speak all the time. And when you do, they think, oh, well, okay. We're going to listen to what he has to say. And you become a better listener.
Yeah.
You find you don't say as many stupid things that you have to, later deal with consequences for, because,
Yeah.
But it's really difficult.
Speaking of speaking and listening too, hooray for taking phones out of the classroom.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm watching kids actually talk during class. Now, sometimes that's a problem, but you know what?
I'd rather that
than
the silence.
Than the shiny reflection of blue screens on their faces.
Or them trying to access their phone after you've already told them they're not allowed to have it.
Yeah.
So, when it is time, because since I kind of think I recognize that a little bit in social, external behaviors, and I say, okay, it's time to go, or I'm good at getting you out of a conversation. And sometimes you're ready to go, but you're just still talking. And they're still talking. So I just pretty much shut it down and we go.
We had that kind of cool thing when we used to do our medieval reenactments. We go camping in the big giant campouts, and you'd be in a group talking. And it was always great because you could just go, hey, walkabout? And everybody would be like, yeah, walkabout.
And then we get up and
conversation
go.
would leave.
And that was one of the suggestions, too, is that's why people, when they meet up with somebody, you should go for coffee or go for a soda or just sit down and drink some water or whatever, so that when the cup is empty,
time to go.
It's your time to get out. And then, of course, we have phrases now that we've developed, that are the nice way. Because sometimes I'll be awkward about it, and I'll just shut up and leave.
Yeah.
I mean, if all you're going to do is gripe about, well, speaking of camping, we had a camp mate in one of the other areas, and she had the same job I had, only she taught a little older age range than I did at that time. And all she ever wanted to do
was complain
about the job and the kids.
Yeah.
Well, lady,
shut up.
I don't want to talk about that. So I would just
look. We all know kids suck.
I would just get up and leave. I don't want to trash them. They're young people in development.
No, and that's that's why I enjoyed the conversation the other day, the give and take about rules and about the government and
what you see
and about reality versus what ought to be, because these kids need to understand that life doesn't care that just something's unfair.
It's just like the weather.
Yes, it's.
See, we're not using the H word.
No, we're not going to use the H word anymore. That's right. It's a cyclone. It's a disturbance.
It's a haboob.
It's.
I talked about a haboob the other day. Yes.
Yeah, I know it's fun to talk about.
It is. Yeah, it was in my giant dictionary, my 1940s dictionary.
Giant haboob.
Yeah, haboob was in the dictionary, and when I said it, the kids were like, "No," and they came and looked, and there it was.
There you go. And all right, well,
so it's been great catching up with you. I thank you for this insightful discussion. Really got to go though.
Well, wait, I got to tell you about this one last thing.
Oh, it is getting late.
I want to slide us out of this conversation. To talk about a discovery that I made yesterday. Not as cool as the discovery this guy made.
We've solved a lot of problems.
I guess.
Go ahead.
Oh yeah, we've solved absolutely nothing as usual. However, I think this story turns out to be wonderful, and it happened in Ireland of all places.
Oh, all right.
Always after me lucky terms. I know.
Wow.
I know. No, what was the term last night? Wait. Oh gosh darn it, leprechaun.
The leper. Oh, the show about the leprechaun. Okay.
A prisoner with leprosy is a leprechaun.
Send your emails and texts to G-Long.
Sorry about that. And look, if you have leprosy, I'm sorry. It's called what is it now? Henderson's disease or something? We don't even call it leprosy anymore.
It's the stigma attached to the label. We've discussed labels before. They have negative consequences.
Well, it turns out that in Ireland, a farmer kept noticing a cheesy kind of smell coming from the ground where he was farming. And so he started digging.
A cheesy smell.
Yeah, as you would.
That was a loaf of Velveeta left over from camping out in our yard.
Well, Michael Boyle, what a great Irish name. Yeah. Michael Boyle. He was conducting work on the farm in County Donegal, and he found what turned out to be, and I love this, an ancient slab of bog butter.
A slab?
Of bog butter. It turns out that he found this bog butter totally on accident. It was just the smell, but it turns out that in ancient times, dairy or animal fat was buried in bogs, usually in wooden containers, for preservation, or sometimes put in containers as an offering to the gods or the spirits.
And they buried it in the bog?
And they would bury it in the bog. And apparently it was a slow fermentation process.
So it doesn't like decay. It's like the cells, and it has a new state.
The slab of bog butter that he found, by the way, 60-pound slab of bog butter.
Does it say how wide, big?
It doesn't, but it did have a wooden disc on the bottom of it that had decayed somewhat. So it was clearly in a wooden container at one time. The wood had long since gone away. Estimated to be possibly as old as 1,000 years. And they've found bunches of these all over Ireland. I've never heard the term bog butter until I read this story. Most of them, it says, are about the size of a mixing bowl. But this one was 60 pounds.
Yeah, this one is substantial.
And he said, as soon as he started digging, he knew what he had found.
What did they? What does that tell them about the area, the community that was in that area that buried that? Do they know things about them? It doesn't say.
Well, no, it doesn't. It doesn't get into that too much, but it does say that, according to this Dr. Harvey, who came in to talk about bog butter, he said, "Oh, by the way, it does taste just like butter." He tasted it. He goes, "It's unsalted butter, but it's butter." And he said it's absolutely still edible, which I find I know. It's gross. So gross.
So what are they burying? Their fat and
it's a lot of times it's animal fat and butter mixed together. Why they mix it together, I don't know. But it's still pretty cool. I mean, you can't.
Yeah, no. I'm not putting it on a cracker or anything, but as far as stages of decomposition, I don't know. I would think that things would grow in it that I wouldn't necessarily. Okay, so now what are they going to do with it?
That is a good question. Hang on. Let me see.
Well, I know I'm Googling it. I'm not getting anything but the story you're reading.
Oh, here's a picture of some bog butter.
And something about rotten meat. Well. 3,500, proven to be 3,500 years past its.
Some were made of dairy while others are made of animal fat, but it's all butter. So they would churn animal fat too to make butter.
Okay. Oh, yeah, I see it. All right.
Until 2003, scientists and archaeologists were uncertain of the origin of bog butter. And then they started figuring it out. It goes all the way back to the 1st century AD. So that's 2,000 years ago. With some bog butter they found in County County Meth.
Okay.
That's in Oklahoma, isn't it?
No, it's Tennessee, dear.
Oh, Tennessee. Okay.
Oh, God, now we've said things that we shouldn't have said.
I know. I can't.
Tennessee's
suffering right now, and you go and say that. Man, that's not very nice.
Oh, 22. Here's a 22-pound chunk of bog butter.
Peat bogs are low-temperature, low-oxygen, highly acidic environments, which have excellent preservation properties. They've found meat buried in peat bogs for up to. They've buried meat in peat bogs for up to 2 years, and it turns out that the the pathogens and bacterial count of the meat after 2 years in a bog, same as if it had been stored in a modern freezer.
Wow! So it
tell me that's not wild.
Yeah, that is. Well, that's why the decomposition of the butter makes it and still edible. I guess
it turns out that countries around the world have figured out these places, like century eggs in China. They're literally put in the ground in a mixture of clay, ash, salt, and quicklime and rice hulls, and they bury it and they just leave it for 100 years, and then they eat the eggs.
All right.
Yeah, I know.
Well, we know Asian cultures bury their.
Modern experiments in creating bog butter have yielded a product that seemed to be an acquired taste, with flavor notes which were described as gamey or funky or pungent.
But our taste buds have been fouled forever with sugars and such. I mean,
pungent.
All right.
Anyway, so I wanted to slide out of here with some butter, information. But bog butter.
I think this would be the point that science would say, it's time to shut up.
Yeah.
It may very well be.
I had a whole thing about the Roman Republic and
but we don't want to get into all that. No,
we'll put that on the back burner, I guess.
You want this twice a month. You're going to have conversation like this, baby. You got to save it up.
You got to savor it.
Savor it up. In the end, though.
I thought the way well, never mind. Go ahead. Sorry. Go, please.
No, you're not. No.
Oh, I'm sorry. Please forgive me.
You might have said something interesting. I don't know.
Probably not.
I was going to wrap us up.
You know what? I was going to say something so interesting.
Lies. Oh, lies!
Bella's been in here the whole time, and she hasn't barked once.
Well, I guess everything we've said has been the truth.
Bella, it's been true all throughout? That's because we didn't solve a damn thing.
And it's so unusual that we didn't solve something.
That's okay, though. Your reality is what you want it to be.
There is one surefire way of ending a conversation. And you know what that way is? There's a thing you have to say. And when you say it, the conversation's over. Go ahead.
No, because you're going to push that damn button.
No, I'm not.
Your joy is portable. Make sure you bring it with you.
Republic. I've got Bog Butter. Can't forget Bog Butter.
No, Bog Butter is easy. It's a way to slide out of the podcast.
Bog Butter.
Yes, okay.
I can't believe it's Bog Butter. But
our audience has no idea what that phrase would mean. They did not grow up with the same damn stupid commercials we did in the 70s.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that reference means nothing to anybody but you and I and people
Mother
over
Nature.
60.
It's not nice to fool Mother Nature.
See, again. And what the hell is wrong with us? I can't remember, something that happened to me last week.
You're soaking in it.
But take me away. But I can remember shit that happened 50 years ago on a commercial. I can still do this one. To all beef patty, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions on a sesame seed bun.
Yep. There you go.
And I should be given a free Big Mac for that.
Oh, no. I can still remember the Underdog song. Ooh, ah, ooh, when those. Oh, man. Now
you can't do it?
No, you were smiling at me and messed me up.
All right, don't do it. Do it in the middle of the show for no random reason. Just fucking break out in it. All right.